The Stone Roses are more important than Oasis, is what a lot of people said on my last video about the Gallagher brothers' fashion choices during the 90s, and today I think it would be a great idea to dive into the Stone Roses' fashion choices to see how this impacted the culture and also propelled their music to the top of the charts. Alright, let's get started. So, yeah, this is what the Stone Roses look like. Like if you ordered the Stone Roses, this is what you would get. They are one of the most visually consistent groups of all time, at least during their heyday. I mean, they're one of the few groups that's so visually consistent that like you can just draw caricatures of them and it's like, this isn't just them from a specific day, this is just them. However, something that a lot of people probably don't know is that the Stone Roses were like the last group in Manchester to start dressing like that. Before they figured out what their style should be, they dressed as punks, they dressed as goths, they dressed as whatever this is. And their fashion development really just mirrored the entire development of the Madchester musical movement, where you had local groups who were able to combine rock music with the house grooves to create this new genre. And people were able to express themselves in new interesting ways with these new fashion brands like Joe Bloggs, which were deliberately open and flowing, which allowed for the more, easy movement needed for raving. But it took forever and a day for the Stone Roses to figure out what they should look like, even after they got their music figured out. And you can see that in this early performance of Waterfall, where apparently Ian was told that the dress code was business casual. Boy wearing that canary yellow polo to rock out in. But we do have the bucket hat, so we're getting there. But the one thing about it is that once they finally figured out what they should look like, they stuck with it. I mean, they are not going to be seen in anything else. I mean, at like one point in time, I swear Ian must have just had like 15 copies of the Money shirt and 15 pairs of jeans in his closet, because like he legitimately just didn't wear anything else for like a year and a half. I mean, TV shows, live performances, concerts, photo shoots, picking up his sister from school. It didn't matter. He was wearing the outfit. But while some people may see this as a little bit overly cautious, which frankly it may be, it was great branding, because there's not many groups that are like, this is what they look like, to the point of it being a uniform, which is great for branding. Like anyone who sees a group of people who look like this wearing these kind of clothes knows that this is the Stone Roses. And if you were gonna pick a shirt to wear every single day for the rest of your life, you could pick a worse one. The Money shirt is so like garish and bad, but it's also like the best shirt of all time. It's at the perfect crossroads of like being complete trash and hooligan and somehow like, hood Popeye. But it just works. I don't know how, but it just does. He wears it with such confidence that makes you like want to get it. The Money shirt really is just this, microcosm of the entire Madchester movement, which brings up my second point. As I said, the Madchester movement was this deliberate mixing of rock and house music with these clothes that were deliberately made to facilitate raving. And it should be noted that it was called acid house for a reason. It was the second summer of love, so in addition to all of these other influences, you had all these hippie clothes being thrown in there with the Adidas. Ian was pretty particular to those like Indian type hippie shirts, which I thought that he was wearing in the famous Top of the Pops performance, but upon closer look, it actually looks like it's like a track jacket that's been zipped up all the way that like looks like it's an Indian shirt, which frankly just makes it such a great singular, encounter of the entire movement. We've got the street version of like a dashiki, or like just this ancient garment. You also had John Squire bringing in his artistic side with the very obvious Jackson Pollock influences. And I know it's not clothes, but like the paint photo shoot is just biblical. Okay, I'm just saying. In fact, I think that really the only member of the Stone Roses that was kind of lagging behind fashion-wise is like Manny. And I guess he's got the referee shirts or whatever you would call this thing, but he needs to pull some more weight. That's all I'm saying, okay? He's doing great on bass, but he needs to bump it up fashion-wise, okay? The true gift of being in such an open type of movement is that you were allowed to fail. So you were able to do all these crazy fashions, and if they didn't work, it's like, okay, because the next time you try it, it would work. Which brings up my third point. The reason why the Stone Roses worked in large part is because they were able to experiment, yet still stay true to their roots. I will play the requisite Liam clip here.
So was that like the tipping point for you, Stone Roses?
That was my epiphany. Ian Brown, John Squire, the lads. That was it. I went, you don't have to wear leather kecks and pointy shoes, man, to be in a band, you know what I mean?
Stone Roses had their own style as well.
Exactly, you can wear, you know, they were wearing like the stuff that we were wearing, but playing this magical music, so.
So regardless of who you personally think is the best rock group to come out of Manchester, the one thing about it is that the Stone Roses were not cut from the same cloth as Joy Division or Morrissey. You can only be so much hippie when you're just a hooligan at the end of the day, and there's nothing wrong with that. So most of the iconic clothes of Manchester were like extremely low barriers to entry to get them. They were either very inexpensive, or they were thrifted, or like just got from your parents. A lot of people were wearing like just their parents' bell bottoms, and what you couldn't buy, you could just make. Most of like the clothes were like tie-dye or like the Jackson Pollock thing, which, you know, are like no barriers to entry for you to do skill-wise. So I mean, to put another Oasis reference in this video, Bonehead's truck that he would drive to, you know, do day labor work on these construction sites had the John Squire, you know, Jackson Pollock kind of paint on it. And frankly, I'm just going to tell you, we need more musical movements that can be the inspiration for construction trucks. It's what the market craves, okay? It was a working class scene. I mean, you had entire songs like Elizabeth, My Dear, that were about overthrowing the monarchy. And while they were always wearing these kind of crazy clothes or shoes, they always had their jeans on, you know, to keep it down to earth. Truly, if things had just been a little different, this would have been the look and sound of the 90s. But things were not fated to be that way. And so grunge and Britpop were able to take the cultural place that Manchester had built. I'm not the first one to say that, like, Oasis had the career that really the Stone Roses should have had. But I'm also not going to say that in such a negative light, because the Britpop groups wore the Manchester influence very plainly on their sleeves. They would just tell you that, and also they just look the same a lot of the time. And something that should be noted is that Manchester, and especially the Stone Roses, are extremely culturally relevant to this day. Something that was seen in that recent Adidas collaboration, where you had the best looking jersey I have ever seen being put out on the market. I'm just saying, I'm saving up my pennies, okay? Because, gosh, this thing looks good. But while the Stone Roses remain essential to this day, it's also important to know where culture and music went afterwards. And for that, you can watch this video.